Now let's talk a little bit about negotiation, which is an important skill that PMs use every single day. Negotiation is about trying to reach an agreement when there's conflict. Conflict can arise in lots of different scenarios, whether it's about what the product should do, who's going to be working on the product, or the specific timelines of what's happening when. Negotiation also involves compromise, which is about finding the best mutual outcome for all parties involved. When you're negotiating, people tend to think of it as either being a win or lose situation. But there's actually a couple different styles of negotiation. There's competitive negotiation, where I'm going to win and you're going to lose. There's collaborative negotiation, where you and I both walk away feeling like we won. There's compromise, where we both walk away feeling like we won and lost some parts of the negotiation. There's avoidance, where we both lose, and this usually happens when people don't like conflict. And so as a result, the issues end up not being directly discussed. And lastly, there's accommodation. This is where I lose and you win. This isn't necessarily in my best interest, but sometimes it might be needed in order to preserve relationships. These styles will all come into play at different times, but most of the time when you're working with your team and within your company, collaborative negotiation is going to be the best approach. So how do you get there? What are different negotiation strategies? Well, the first thing that's helpful to understand is BATNA, which stands for Best Alternative to a Negotiated Agreement. You'll want to understand what each side's BATNA is. Think about what would happen if you weren't able to reach an agreement. What would the outcome be for each party? Another thing that's important is to focus on interests. It's really helpful to understand what each side is interested in and why. These insights will help you to understand where to focus during the rest of the negotiation. And another really great strategy is to make the pie bigger. What this means is you'll want to look for ways that you can increase the value of the negotiation. You can do this by understanding the other side's interests. Are there any things that you could offer them that will be valuable for them? And in the best case, those things won't cost you anything or be difficult for you to give away. Another thing that you can do is use objective criteria. By creating objective criteria, it helps to base the conversation in reality. Imagine, for example, that you're interested in buying a car. The salesperson wants to sell the car to you for as much money as possible. And you want to buy the car for as little money as possible. Using objective criteria helps to ground the conversation because you're able to look at similar models with similar mileage and see and understand what those cars are selling for. It can also be helpful to present multiple solutions. When you do this, you'll get feedback about how the other side feels about each option and which option they think is the best. So let's walk through a few tips for negotiation. First of all, relationships matter a lot. When you build strong relationships with people, it's easier to negotiate because each side has a certain level of trust in each other. Compare this to two people who've never interacted before. You can also use active listening. By using active listening, you'll understand the other side's point of view and why they have that point of view. Again, the better you can understand their motivations, the easier it will be to identify a solution. Active listening also involves paying attention to body language to gauge how the other side is responding to the conversation. It's also really important to keep your emotions in check. Negotiation can be stressful, and it's sometimes very emotional. It's important to keep your emotions in check and stay calm and relaxed. If your emotions run unchecked, things can escalate quickly and can lead to bad outcomes. Another tip is to work together to find a solution. You can do this by involving the other side in finding a solution. A really good way to do this is to start by aligning on goals. If you can both agree that you're working towards the same goal, it's way easier to work together to figure out how to get there.